Alrighty, I think we're live. Or are we Memorex? Hey, stranger, how the hell are you?
I am better than I was this time last week. I was ready to rip my hair out last week.
Oh, don't do that. Well, no, because then you'd be part of the Bald Brotherhood. Or are you going 4B?
No.
Whatever. You notice that kind of has died completely. You don't hear about it at all anymore.
Yeah, it went away quickly.
Yeah, it kind of. I just, I remember all the videos where the ladies were shaving their heads and all that. I wish I had saved. Well, I have some saved actually, but I'd save their accounts so I can go back and look and see what they're saying now.
Oh, I'm sure one of them needed they had a flat tire or their AC broke and they had to call a man to come make their lives more comfortable.
Yeah. So we'll see how long we last. By the way, I'm on like this close to getting banned on TikTok. It's right there. I got my 2 strikes. I got hammered on Monday. So if you're watching on TikTok, my advice to you is go watch us on YouTube because I don't know how long we're going to last here. Although we didn't get flagged last week, but anyway.
That's because I wasn't here and I'm the problem. We know this.
Yeah, but actually Curtis was doing stuff that was, he was worse than you actually in a good way. But yeah, and thanks to Curtis for jumping in like that. So this week we're wide open. We haven't done a You Ask Us questions in what, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah,
something
2
like
months,
that.
something like that.
So we thought we'd open it up before the July 4th holiday, otherwise known as We Kicked England's Rudy Poo Candy Ass.
I prefer to think of it as 4th of July for me is well, I have a friend in England and I always say Happy Treason Day.
Oh yeah.
Because if we lost, we would have all been hung for treason. But I call it's the one day a year where Americans set aside their differences, get together, and try and murder the sky.
They're already doing that here, and I'm sure probably in Texas too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, look, I have a problem with fireworks, but my dogs hate them. Do we really need to have them for 15 straight days in a row? I mean, come on.
Well, for in our neighborhood, at least, it's a little bit difficult to tell because we have a shooting range behind our neighborhood. So the question is always fireworks or gunshots.
Oh, you should be able to tell the difference on that.
Well, the people on our neighborhood Facebook page do not know the difference.
Yeah.
They can't tell the difference between a gunshot, a firework, and a car backfiring.
Houston said they do fireworks here for Christmas. So do we. Christmas, New Year's.
Any excuse, really.
Random dates in the middle of the week in March, South Carolina's got them for sale year round. So people drive down from where I am to South Carolina and stock up. And I know people that will blow about $2,000 in fireworks Friday night. And they don't have a pot to piss in to begin with, but that's what they do. And you know what? I enjoy the show. I'm not going to lie. Because I don't bother with the one downtown because getting there is bad enough, but getting out is like a 4-hour trip.
We actually live up on a hill, so we go up on the hill and we can see the entire San Antonio area, 360, everywhere, nice. All over the place.
Nice. Yeah, where I'm originally from, Albany, New York, there's a place, it's called Thatcher Park. And you could go up there and it overlooks, just like you were saying, everything in that area. So you could see Schenectady's fireworks, Albany's. You wouldn't hear anything as it was so far away, but you could see them all. It was pretty cool. I was up there a couple times for that. Anyway, so guys, it's wide open today. You get to ask us anything. What do you want to talk about?
Houston, I doxed myself a long time ago. Everyone knows where I live.
Yeah. Well, not really. You said Texas. Texas is a pretty freaking big state,
Well, but I said what city I'm a.
Oh, right off the bat, early one. CZ Shiro sent a hat and mustache. So,
yeehaw!
There we go. Every time we get a hat and mustache, she has to go yeehaw. Yeah. So wide open today. What do you want to talk about? We can talk about the 4th if you'd like, otherwise known as what'd you call it? Treason Day.
Happy Treason Day.
Or I say kicked England's ass day.
America collectively told England that we know how to make our own tea by throwing it in the harbor like every red-blooded American.
Nothing like wasting food to make a point, right? Or if you want to talk about anything else, if there's anything in the news you want to talk about, there's a lot in the news lately. regarding men's issues, boys' issues, a lot in the news. Any of that stuff you want to talk about? Let them fly. Questions you want to ask us within reason, personal type stuff, you can. No, never mind. I'm not going to say it because we'll get in trouble. All right, well,
I'm reading comments.
Steve wants to know if I had a chance to look at those links that he sent me. Yes, I scanned them. I'm not going to lie to you, Steve. I am literally hundreds of emails behind, trying to set some stuff up. So I did see it, and I scanned it, but I have not looked at everything. No. Rail, Damien, Francis, just so you know, we don't bring people on with us. I know you want to join. Thank you for making the offer. But it's just little old Beauty and the Beast. Just sorry.
Be nice. Be nice.
Yes.
I am not a beast, but you are the beauty.
It's hard being this good looking, but I think I carry it well.
Carry it well.
He wants to know if this is my real account. Yes, if you're watching on TikTok, it is my real account for now, because I am skating on thin ice. It's funny because the video that triggered it, the first line I said in this is going to get me in big trouble, and boy, did TikTok get in big trouble. Everywhere else, though, not a problem at all.
What were you talking about that they took such issue with? I'm way behind because I've been dealing with.
Well, let me get the name of it here so I remember because I filmed it like 2 weeks ago. I said the real reason handsome, educated men are no longer seeking women for relationships. And there is nothing bad in it, really, other than to say that we don't need you.
The quality of women out there is scraping bottom.
Well, like, if you've got a ton of money and you can have any woman you want, why would I want you, right? Type of thing. Oh, that didn't go over well, apparently. And I knew they were going to get pissed at it. And, a little tongue in cheek, a little fun, little honest. But I knew when I filmed it, which I had filmed it like 2 weeks earlier, I knew it was going to have a problem on TikTok. Sure enough, woke up Tuesday morning. And then when I appealed it, so this gets better, Lindsay, you'll like this. So they took it down monetarily. You're not going to get monetized. So I appealed it just for the fun of it. Didn't really care because it had made nothing. Then they gave me a strike because I appealed it. So me being me, had a conversation with them. So they're probably still mad at me because there's about my CapCut thing too. So hey, anybody that's using CapCut, stop using it. You see a video on it tomorrow. Go watch it.
Well, I mean, nothing hurts women's feelings more than being told, "I don't want you,"
Or
by someone they want.
Yeah, it's like if you really listen to it, and you know me, I push the envelope and all that, but I'm not trying to hurt anyone. But I was brutal about it, brutally honest, because they need to hear that, and I knew it was going to happen, and sure enough, I was right.
Well, it's a typical. I'm going to use an economics thing. It's supply and demand. What women are putting out there now is not what anyone wants to buy, especially of a certain caliber of gentlemen. And rather than raise their standards, like say, "Oh, well, we need to better ourselves," they just get mad about, "You should want us anyway."
Yeah, you're a 3, honey. Why would I want you when I can have anybody I want? Type, that's the guys they want. That's what they can say. I'm not saying that for me personally, although back in the day, and
Oh, and I had a conversation with a lady the other day. I called her average. She goes, "I'm not average." I said, "What are you?" I said, "Average." That most women are average. That's why it's called average. There's only some very, very few women who are, 10s and 9s and whatnot. And I am not one of them. And she was like all upset. And I was like, "Sweetie, honey, darling, Clementine, I can reset your entire face with a baby wipe." Like if you're so confident that you're a 10, why are you wearing tons of makeup?
Well, I mean, 10s are high maintenance, people. Jeez. I'm telling you, you want average. They're a hell of a lot more down to earth and easier to get along with. Okay.
Tell us how you really feel, Curtis. So, I mean, perfect point. right? So Giselle Bundchen, who at one time was the quote unquote most beautiful woman in the world, got Tom Brady. She's been replaced by a 27-year-old whom goes by the name of Sydney Sweeney. Oops. So yeah, she's off having fun with her personal trainer. I would love to be a fly on the wall at her house or apartment right now, because Tommy Boy, who is a 10, right? I mean, I don't particularly think he's all that great looking, but apparently he is. He got no problem pulling Sydney Sweeney. So
Countryborn has a good point. Even if all women's were 10, they would still be average, because if 10 is the average or the majority, then you're the average.
And to be fair and honest with what Curtis was saying, I agree with him 100%. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I have dated drop dead, gorgeous women. Worst women I've ever been around. Not just in public, by the way. Most of them, a warm hot pocket would put more effort in. Just saying.
I had a friend that I worked. Well, I say friend, a work acquaintance. This woman, she wore makeup to bed. She was very high maintenance, and I asked her one day. She's like, "Oh, I like it." I was like, "Yeah, your skin looks amazing." She's like, "Oh, look, I do." She described her skincare routine to me. First of all, it's too many goddamn steps. Absolutely, it's like 50-something steps. I'm like, And then it's like, well, how much money do you spend on all of this? More than my mortgage. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no,
see,
thank you.
Yeah, I had an aunt who was like that way back when, who was also my stepmother, by the way. Go ahead. Cue the
Ding,
Alabama.
ding, 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 ding.
No, my father married my mother's sister. So she was both my aunt and stepmother at the same time. Kind of like my son-in-law is also my nephew by marriage. But she used to cake on the makeup. And you know what? She ultimately, and this is the point I wanted to make with it, she was 52 and died of brain cancer. And I've always wondered, because, you know, I did some research many, many, many years ago about chemicals in makeup, and there is a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I, to this day, believe the amount she caked on every day, and she caked it on, had something to do with her having brain cancer. Now, to be fair, she was also a smoker, but I just, correlation may be there. I don't know. And the fact of the matter is, as you know, I know, and probably 90% of the guys here, we prefer women without their makeup. We'd rather see the natural you. We really would. I mean, I never, you know, when I was 20, I dated women who wore makeup. When I got older, it was an immediate turn off for me. Immediate. I wouldn't even bother.
Oh, Angel's got a question. He says, have you ever had a bitter woman try and turn your wife or husband against you? Yes.
Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
It didn't work. Mostly because it went right over Mr. Squirrel's head. That man would not know another woman is flirting with him if it hit him in the face.
I think that's fair of most guys. Well, one of two things. They either don't know it or they know it and they're ignoring it. So which was his? Is his just oblivion, or is it he knows it but he's ignoring it?
He's oblivious.
Okay. See, I'm on the other side. I know it pretty quick, but I just don't give a shit. So,
well, the way my husband, Mr. Squirrel, and I, the way we flirt, we bicker, and it almost sounds like I'm being mean to him, because it's like the Princess Bride. When the Princess Bride says, as you wish, well, I call him an idiot. In fact, when I don't call him an idiot, he'll do something stupid, and I'll say, you're an idiot. And that's my version of I love you. And if I don't call him that, he gets upset. But if anyone were to see it in public, it wouldn't look like I'm being ridiculously mean to this man. But I'm not, because he'll come up to me like, am I an idiot? Am I an idiot? Am I an idiot?
The same way it is with me and my wife. It's exactly the same, right? We pick on each other. She calls me an idiot too. right? And people are like, oh my God, they hate each other. No, it's just
No.
our dynamic, it's, and now we, in private, we really don't do it much. I mean, every once in a while she calls me to it, and usually it's rightfully so, because I do some stupid stuff. But in general, there's no malice in it. But in general, we only do it when there's other people around, and sometimes we're doing it just to get a rise out of people. To be honest with you.
Well, I mean, with Mr. Squirrely, we've been together for so long that he doesn't really register anything else. And I realize that we're the exception to many of the rules. We've been together since I was 15, and I'm now turning 37. So
37.
Yeah. Eric's turning 40.
No, I'm just sitting here going, if you're 37, that means my daughter's 37. Oh crap.
Anyway, so he generally is just oblivious. I mean, I've seen him try, but the girls who try it, the bitter women who try it, who are either angry because of usually something I've said, and they try and turn him against me, they come off as the traditional, bat your eyelashes, typical the way women flirt, and it goes. He doesn't understand. Well, like, you have something in your eye? Are you okay? Should you get some
Come on, don't be putting him down. I know his name. You know who? I got your back, bro. Bro code.
But they have tried, and it always inevitably fails. Although I did have one person try and tell me on Facebook once, trying to convince me that my husband was having an affair with someone else, at one of the beautiful women that works at his squadron. The sad thing is, I'm friends with every single female that works in that building, and beautiful.
Well, anyway. So my answer to that question, more than I can count. And you know what their motivation has been? And this is not me saying it. It's my wife. They want you. So they will do anything and everything they can to turn me against her, because apparently they want me. And I guess it makes sense, but
it doesn't make any sense. Why? Okay, if he's that easy to, if he's in a committed, happy relationship with someone, and he's loyal to a woman and he loves her, and you're able to pull him away, then he really wasn't committed and loyal to that woman. And what makes you think he's not going to do the same thing to you, that some other woman can't do the same thing that you just did? I've heard women do, I've seen women do it, and as a woman, it makes no sense. Like, oh, he's loyal. But if he's loyal, then his answer to you is always going to be no. If you can pull him away from her, then guess what, sis? He ain't loyal. It baffles me.
Well, there was one that I knew right away what she was doing, right? And so I told my wife about it, and then I just sat back and watched. And my wife just shredded her, And, she's like a rabid Wolverine or rabid squirrel, or actually more like a rabid. What's the tiniest animal you can think of? Because she's short.
No, Wolverine's right. I've met your wife.
Bad honey badger would be a good one too. I did call her honey badger once, but it didn't resonate with her because she didn't know what a honey badger was. But yeah, I mean, we've had it happen multiple times. Off the top of my head, I can say anywhere from 5 to 10 that I'm aware of. There may be others I'm not, and I ain't no Brad Pitt for sure, as I often say. I'm anything but. So yeah, I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. To your point, I get it from the sense that I think, and you could chime in on this, I'd love to get your opinion. I think women, and you're not there yet, but in their 40s to say 50s that are divorced and know the prospects are getting slimmer by the moment, when they see a guy in a happy, committed relationship and they know they want that themselves, I think they think that's the best way to get it is by getting one of those guys to break up with his wife or girlfriend. That's kind of what I think is some of, not all of it, but I think in some cases that's the exact motivation. But you can disagree. I'd love to hear it.
It might be. It might not. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Oh, look at her go. I love it when you get angry. You're cute.
Get some, mama. Get some.
I think it can also be punishment. They're mad that this other woman has a good guy, and they are envious of her, and they want to punish her by taking the good guy away from her.
Well, that's the misery loves company.
Yeah, that's the misery loves company part.
Oh, I agree with you there too. Yes, absolutely.
More often than not, I get more people trying to convince me that my husband has cheated on me, or he did this, or he's unloyal, or whatever, because they want to hurt me. And it's always hilarious when they do that because, well, one guy, the one person that swore left, right, and sideways that he works with my husband, and anyone who's watched any of my videos can kind of figure out where my husband works. He got all of the surface level information right. Like, you can Google where he works and you can find out. And I was like, okay, fine. So when did this supposedly happen? And the guy was like, I'm not ratting on him. I go, okay. So if I take your whatever screen name thing and I go to the commander and talk to him, they're going to be able to find you. You know that, right? Well, no. Okay. Well, when did this supposedly happen? He gives me a date. I go, my husband was in Germany.
He didn't really think that one through.
No, he didn't. And I mean, and I have to give them credit. They got enough facts right. Like, they could have easily Googled and gotten the facts, like, looked it up. I'll give them that, props for going out of your way even that much. But you still swung and missed. And what was the point of all this? Like, you're sitting there telling me he's cheating on me to make me feel bad. But then when I ask you for details that would prove that he's cheating on me, you say, I ain't going to sell a brother out. Well, then why'd you mention it?
I know what his real motivation was.
What?
He wanted you.
Really?
Yeah.
The fuck is that?
I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
We aren't women, Lindsay. Okay.
Well, you're going to have to explain the thought process of that, because I don't get it.
The thought process is I want her, so I'll do everything I can and need to get her. And if that means I got to destroy her marriage, so be it, because I want her.
That's stupid.
Never said
it wasn't. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's stupid.
But I'm not going to lie. When I was younger, I probably did that more than once. Yeah. It's guys' motivations are totally different. They're out for, you know what? And, that's that. I'm trying to keep it as clean as I can, You know how it is, right? But pretty much that's what it is. Because to say, I can't say that's like every guy every time. 99% of the time it is, though. If you and that goes, it's actually biologically driven, right? Men know that over the course of history, roughly only half of all men have ever been able to procreate. So if you're in a situation where there's a woman you're attracted to and you want to procreate with her and she happens to be taken, well, back in the day, Ugg used to walk up and beat the other man over the head with a club and then take his woman. Or Sven the Viking or whatever, right? Can't kind of do that now. It's kind of frowned on. So they go the other route. That's really what it is. I know, I could tell by your face. You're like, what the?
No, it makes sense. From a biological standpoint, it makes sense. I'm caught up on the fact that some person just was going to put that much effort for me.
Angel, the former Chad bad boy turned gentleman. Yeah, pretty much. And that's why I can relate to a lot of what the Chads do, because when I was younger, I was a model as a child into my early 20s. I was a little pimply faced in high school, but college, those pimples went away and I had no problem. And, it was pre-AIDS, so you didn't have to worry about that. That's kind of what stopped it for me. Because when AIDS became known in, was it 84, 85 in that area? What used to be fun was literally a chance of dying every time. So I know the mindset, and I'm not excusing it. I'm not glorifying it. It was really bad stuff. I mean, I look back at what I did, and I was a horrible person. I freely admit it. You know, but knowing that, and now, you know, being able to relay from that to other people, I know how the Chads think, or the Tyrones, or I've added Rico now, by the way, because I felt like I was being discriminatory towards the Hispanics. So I started adding Rico Suave is where I got Rico from. So yeah, but it's, in your case, that's what that situation was. I'm almost guarantee it.
Okay, I will take your word for it. I yield to your male brain superiority.
My age and wisdom.
Well,
one
of those.
Oh, let me get the knife out of my back. Woo! All right, guys, what else you want to talk about? Keep them coming. There was a couple in here that got a ton of doc. Because I want to make sure I credit the person that said it. Oh, so real Damian Francis said, "Boy, I'm afraid to date. Relationship is a headache." And then early on, he had also, I think it was him, said, you know, he's afraid to kind of go near women or to approach them.
I don't blame you.
Exactly. Well, you stole my thunder right there. We're at a point now, guys, you can't. You just can't.
I watched a video from this woman. She's sitting in her car going, "Oh my God, I'm just shaking because I was in the parking lot at Target," and it's broad daylight, by the way. It's like noon. It's like, "Oh my God, I was shaking because this guy was like following me around." She dropped her keys. And
but he would pick them up and hand them to her.
Yeah, like you can't go anywhere if you drop your freaking keys. And she's like acting like she got, was chased by like a wolverine or something, or like a bear. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? First of all, I have to admire your acting skills, because I don't really think you're that worked up. If you are, you deserve to be in a mental institution. Like, if a guy calls out, "Hey, miss," I turn around, "What?" Like, it's not, and it also depends on where you are. Like, I can understand maybe if you're like in the bad part of town and you just needed like, gas or something, and you're like at a, 24/7, service station in the middle of the night, maybe. But noon on a Sunday at Target, sweetie, you are safest as safe can be.
Yeah, well, a lot of those times when you see those videos in the cars, you can see them reading the teleprompter script they have on their phone. So it's all scripted. I never saw that video, but I remember one, 2-3 years ago, was very similar. She probably stole it from that one. And if you actually watch that video, you can see her eyes reading the teleprompter, which I have no problem with using teleprompter. But if you're going to sit there and, cry and do all this other stuff and you're reading a teleprompter, it's obviously scripted, but.
Well, I keep getting in trouble because of the women who are like doing performative victimhood on camera. I always type in "crying is blackmail," and they're like, "You don't know what my life is like." I'm like, crying is blackmail. Why? And first of all, crying. Okay, if you're truly that upset, like, I understand. I cried in frustration and all of that. I was crying in frustration last Wednesday when I wasn't on air with y'all. But ultimately, it's a useless thing. Okay, yes, it's cathartic, yes, or whatever, but the situation is still the same after you're done crying as before you started. So I understand crying in frustration. I understand the doing that. But if you're really that upset, my thought is not, let me turn on a camera.
Yeah, I mean, that's the takeaway or the giveaway right there, right? Is if you're turning it on and doing it in front of a camera.
Now, if you're like delivering something that makes you choke up and you're in front of a camera, that's different. But if you start it with in tears, or the video starts with, you're sitting there with your head between your legs and just crying, and I'm like, okay, skip. I don't even care what you're talking about. It's like, skip, because you set up that camera and then sat down and did it. Like, I know how this works.
Yeah, but it's fun making videos off of those.
Yes,
Like I did one.
That is true.
I did one last week, and I knew she scripted the whole thing. I think I did it. Actually, no, I think it went up Monday, maybe. It's called The Meltdown is Real. I remember that. And she's just bawling and screaming about how horrible men are, and I just ran with it. Angel's got a question. So this one's for you, Dan, as a former Chad bad boy. How do you spot one? How do you spot a Chad bad boy? Tough question. I just kind of inherently know, just by the way they act. I can't say like any specific thing that comes to mind, but usually they have attitude. They act like women. They think they're 10s. And a lot of times they are, to be fair, right? They know they're good looking. They know they have no problem getting a woman. They can walk into the bar at 2 a.m. There'll be plenty sitting there at the bar waiting, and you know they want to go home. So it's, like shooting fish in a barrel. I know I did it, although I was the bouncer. But I kind of inherently know. And you gotta let me think on that one, Angel, because that's a great question. That's one I've heard from women. And then the other thing is if you listen to them. To be honest, most of them aren't all that bright. And most of them are broken. I know I was back in the day. When I talk to them, because I have some of them who have reached out to me from time to time. When I talk to them, and I speak for myself as well, they don't know what love gotten it, so they don't give it. So there's a tell right there. If you don't see them giving respect to anyone, pretty good sign, because it's just pure arrogance. The exception, I think, and I don't know, but I don't get that vibe from, say, Tom Brady, because we mentioned him earlier. If anything, I get the opposite. I think he's a good guy. He's got his flaws, don't get me wrong. I mean, he is a cheater, but and I mean on the football field, not on Giselle. She's the one who cheated, not him. But I think in general, they're so broken that other guys can spot it. I kind of know. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, the most access I ever had to them was when I was working fast food or working in, retail. They'd come in and they'd want something, and they always gave with like the backhanded compliments, like, you're pretty smart for however old you are. Like they're dissing my age at the same time as saying you're pretty smart for, or they would make assumptions about me, and you'd be really smart or you'd be really pretty if, and I'm like, dude, I'm 8 months pregnant. My feet are killing me. Shut the fuck up. That was one guy who came up to me and was like, you'd be really, I was working at Dillard's at the time. I was pregnant with my first kid. And he was like, you'd be really, pretty if you smiled more and like maybe put a little more effort in. And I'm like looking down at the beach ball that I have under me. And I'm
Maybe
like,
he had the pregnancy fetish. There are guys that do.
There are guys. But I looked at him, and then I turned around and I walked into the storage room where we keep all the stock room. Because I was like, if I stay, I'm going to tell him what I really think. And then I had another one who basically did the same thing, but he assumed that I didn't know who the father was because I wasn't wearing my rings. And I pulled out the chain around my not this necklace, but my wedding ring was around my a chain around my neck because my fingers had swollen up to the size of summer sausages, and I couldn't wear them anymore.
Yeah.
But my favorite was the guy who would not leave my register. He would not leave my register. He was being an absolute asshole.
Now, see, that doesn't sound like a Chad to me. That sounds more like the opposite.
What?
The S word.
Oh,
Simple.
well, no, he was.
I wasn't there, so I could be wrong. I freely admit it, but just based on the way
he was this little gym bro guy, and I think he got offended because I didn't like thank him for his compliment or what his backhanded whatever compliment. Anyway, the point of the story is my husband in full dress uniform walked up behind him, and Eric was about 2 feet taller than this man. He was shorter than I was.
Oh, there it is. That's Napoleon complex. There it is.
Well, maybe it's not the same. Maybe it's not the same thing. But
Totally different. Oh,
okay. Well,
totally
I just remember Eric coming up behind him.
That's kind of like my wife likes to, push people and then come run into me for, this is my husband. Okay.
Well, I mean, he wasn't an unattractive guy, and I have nothing against short guys. It's just, there was something about him that just.
Yeah, that's a totally different situation. See, that's the thing. We guys know guys, right? So if they're 5'5", they got Napoleon complexes when they're acting like that. A true Chad knows it's a numbers game, right? So they'll play the game, but they'll drop it quickly. They're not going to go all in, right? I never did. Oh, you're beautiful. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And she'd blah, 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 blah. And then I would go from there. But if I knew in 10 minutes it wasn't going to go anywhere, see ya. All right. Have a nice day. You kind of know, because you can pick up on when a woman is truly interested in you you pick up on it pretty quick. And again, you learn to read it. And that's to give credit to that type of person, the Chads, the Tyrones. They learn fast how to read it, and they're very good at it. Because women cannot hide their emotions. It's pretty obvious.
If my mouth doesn't say it, my face will, and I have a shirt that says that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So, yeah. So, there was another, like Steve said, was it Steve? Yeah, said I've heard plenty of women are into bouncers. I can't speak for now, but in the early 80s, oh, hell yeah.
Well, they're the big, strong type.
I mean, I never had to put any effort in at all. And the other guys that were bouncers didn't either. And none of us were, I mean, probably the most good looking, handsome guy probably was a 7 or 8, and that wasn't me. I put myself 5 or 6. But I think in that case, like, even though we're not in uniform, it's kind of like they're attracted to the man in uniform, the authority figure at the bar, right? I think that plays into it there.
Well, they're attracted to performative masculinity, and that. It's the same thing with men in uniform. You can be the skinniest, scrawniest airman, but you're in full dress blues. There's a line. Yeah,
and that's every guy kind of knows that. It's
As I tell my husband all the time, a uniform on a man is like lingerie for a woman.
It really is. You're not wrong. And if you don't have the dress blues, there are other ways to show it off, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's, as a bouncer, I never had a problem. In my personal training days, I can't tell you the number of times. And I would never cross that line. Whether I was single or married, I had a hard and fast rule when I was training. That's business. We aren't going there. Right. But there are exceptions to that. So good questions, good topics. I see another topic they're talking about over on YouTube. We're not going on that one. Although, Lindsay, you need to get the balloons out.
They have deflated, thank you.
No, I meant, you owe me that Britney video from.
Yes, I do. I've been bad.
But anyway,
I've been bad.
You've been naughty.
Daddy, have I been naughty?
There. It creeped me out when you said that. No. We're crossing the line. Get back on focus here. Give us another question, quick, please.
Steve says over on YouTube says women like to think their guy could do violence if the need arose. So bouncers, yes, that is very true.
Very good point. It's the old protector thing, right? My wife's guilty of it as hell. Like, she'll pick fights with people sometimes when I'm around.
The last fight.
4'10", okay? She's not scaring anybody. Although she does scare other women, though. I've had many of my female friends tell me they're terrified of her. And she's not doing anything to, intimidate them. So, I don't know. She's a strong woman, though.
The last person I got in a fight with, my husband had to come pick me up and carry me away.
Done it. Not with you, but yeah. We just got from Micah another hat and mustache. Go.
Yeehaw!
So we are about 40 minutes in. Let me give the shout outs to SP Quatus. Phoenix sent a bunch. Thank you all for the gifts on TikTok. If you haven't already, hold on. I got to find the right thing. Where is it? Hold on there. Oh, there it is. Show us. God damn it. I hate TikTok. There. Show us the love. Do it, Lindsay, because we couldn't do it right last week. There it is. You're so good at it. Show us some love. Give us the heart. Give us the like. Give us the share, because TikTok's throttling us yet again. And also, we have already mentioned this, but every hat and mustache gifted on TikTok gets a yeehaw from Lindsay. So, all right. Other questions? Keep them coming.
Countryborn says over on YouTube, it says they hate toxic masculinity until they want to have fun, it seems. Yes, masculinity is toxic until they need it. And then it's, where have all the good men gone? Chivalry is dead. Yes, because feminism killed it, but that's a different story. And but it's very true.
You just almost verbatim quoted a video I did yesterday on my Female Logic series, which is women. Female Logic is women running around screaming about toxic masculinity all the time and then saying, where did all the good men go? What happened to all the masculine men?
I mean, it's true. So this actually happened in real life. We were at the pool in the neighborhood, and some girls who, that they're young, college age maybe, they're doing all the buzzwords about toxic masculinity. But they're also those girls that want all of the opinions from all the other women around. So they look at me and they're like, right? And I was like, you're not going to like my answer.
You just go ahead, finish what you're saying, and then I'm going to relay a story from the beach.
And they're like, well, why? And I was like, because I think you're stupid. First of all, I said that to the ref. I think you're stupid. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. Said there's toxic behaviors that men and women both exude. There's toxic behaviors that manifest differently in men and women, because guess what, ladies? Men aren't women. They don't think like us. They don't act like us. And honestly, I see far more toxic femininity in the world today than I do toxic masculinity. I swear to God, their eyes crossed. They'd never had a woman tell them you're wrong before, which we need more women out there that do that, by the way.
Well, speaking of toxic femininity, beautiful segue you just did there, and you didn't even know you were doing it. So I'm at the beach Monday, yeah. So, I'm sitting there drinking my coffee, and this attractive woman comes up, throws her towel down probably 30 feet in front of me. I wasn't really paying attention to her, but she had dental floss on. And about 15 feet to my right were two older women, and I could hear every word they were saying. They shredded that girl. I mean, oh my God. And I finally looked over at them, and they saw me looking at them. And it was the definition of toxic femininity. Now, again, I get the point from the sense of there's children around. You shouldn't be doing that at the beach, right? Go to the nude beach somewhere. But they say guys do this stuff. It's women. No one's more toxic to women than other women. You know that. You experience it all the time.
Yep.
Sarah's not on, or maybe she isn't. She hasn't popped in yet. But Sarah goes through it all the time too. It blows my mind. And then when you point that out to women, they get all upset about it.
Well, they pretend that it doesn't happen. No, men say that. No, I have never been called the H word by a man. I have been called that by women all the time. Ironically, typically, I got called the WHORE once by a woman who, this was Lindsay being Lindsay. So I was out in public in a full 1897 bustle ball gown. I was covered from my neck to my toes. I'm wearing more layers than most of these women have ever worn in their life. And I'm having a woman call me
You're probably showing some ankle.
And I just like was, that word doesn't mean what you think. Like that word has a actual dictionary definition. Angel has another good question.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to ask. Go ahead, and you got it.
He says, from a woman's perspective, how do I spot a fake, false victim that is obvious to women? The best way I can spot a fake victim is that nothing is her fault. Nothing is her fault. She's a victim and nothing is her fault. Even as a victim of R, real victims always say, oh, I could have done this differently. I should have done this differently. I should have, if I could have just done this differently, it wouldn't have happened. They rationalize why it's somehow, it's not their fault, but they bear some culpability. I knew I shouldn't have done this, or I knew I should have gone there, or this happened because I let my guard down. Real victims, there's always an element of guilt that they feel, even if it's irrational. Even if they did everything right, there's always that element. False victims, nothing is ever their fault.
That's a great point. So real victims have the woulda, coulda, shoulda, whereas false ones will never entertain that possibility.
No, and in some cases, the real victims are not necessarily inaccurate. You know, yes, what happened to you was absolutely horrible and it should not have happened to you, but they admit that I was out drinking late at night and I went down an alleyway that I shouldn't have. They own the fact that they put themselves in a situation where they were not necessarily as safe. And they're still doing the coulda, woulda, shoulda. If I had not do that, or I shouldn't have drunk so much. If I hadn't been drinking so much, it wouldn't have happened. If I just, not done this. Almost every real victim I've ever met, myself included, has played that game. And it tortures us over time. It's not rational, but we do it. The fake victims, nothing is their fault. There is no way that they are culpable at all. It's always completely someone else's fault. And that's not the reality in most cases. In most cases, even when something bad happens to you, you bear at least a tiny percentage of culpability for the situation you put yourself in. Or you at least act like you do. There's very few cases where sometimes there's true people, true victims that did absolutely nothing wrong. But like in the case of being assaulted or whatever in a dark alley somewhere, if you put yourself there, the fact that I did that, I put myself in that situation, is going to torture them for the rest of their lives. Fake victims will not admit that they had anything at all. And it's always grandiose. It's always like the worst possible scenario. Or it's a scenario that is only bad when you twist the facts. Or like, I'll hear them talk about it and I'll be like, that's it.
Well, all right. That's the thing I was going to ask you. So translating it to male speak in the sense of men do the same thing you're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Most of them are psychopaths and become serial killers are like that. They don't have the ability to think that they've done anything wrong. They can always find a reason to say, I'm the victim. And that's why they do what they do. But to the point you're making, I think when you talk to an actual victim, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, they remember specific details. Little things that you wouldn't think would be a big deal, right? Like he had on brown shoes. I've talked to victims, and it's the most innocuous things that they'll pick up on because they've lived the trauma and they're continuing to live it, right? Whereas the fake victims, everything is kind of nebulous. Well, I was attacked. Well, what happened? Oh, he jumped me. Okay, and they can't fill in details, and this is how cops.
Or they fill in too many details. Like it reads like a script.
It's too perfect, right? And this, by the way, I'm relaying what police officers have told me, both male and female ones, how they catch false allegations. Your point is exactly right. It's too perfect, or they're very vague, or the story keeps changing, right? So, and again, that's not me saying that. That's people, men and women, who are detectives who investigate false allegations. And that's how they spot it quick. They'll tell you a lot of times they know within the first 15, 20 minutes of talking to somebody whether it's really true or not. And they will admit they're wrong sometimes, right? But they kind of learn. It's kind of like I said with the Chads. You kind of just get instinctive about it and know it. So really good question, though.
So I have talked to victims before that the story will change because over time you get more clarity, you remember more things, but there's certain, like you said, there's certain details that detail remains fixed. So while their memory of the overall event might change, like, or get, more detailed or whatever, they always come back. They'll repeat themselves also. Like, he had brown shoes and then it was dark at night. And then, well, maybe it wasn't. And then, but he had brown shoes. They'll circle back around to that.
Right. There's that one, it's usually one or two things, and they might be the most innocuous of things. I heard a dog barking in the background. What was going on? I heard this dog. It was a high pitched dog, blah, blah, blah. I've heard that story before. And, and then if you talk to them later, like you're saying, memories fade, they change, all that stuff, but they'll keep coming back to that one thing. That's kind of how you know. And again,
that's kind of how you tell.
None of this is universal. Things change all the time. But Steve just asked, what percentage do these police say are false? Depending on who you talk to. The lowest number I've ever heard from a police officer is 50 to 60% are false.
The highest is like 80.
Number is almost 90. They're rampant. And that's the serious ones, the SAs and the Rs. You got to remember, that's all the statistics show are those. When you start factoring in all the other ones and the ones not prosecuted, the numbers are ridiculous. And by the way, female police officer was the one who told me 90%. Not a male, female.
Well, it's also like the men can spot Chads and women can spot false allegations, especially in these particular situations.
My wife is the master at it.
When it comes to R and SA, I can usually tell you within 5. Most of the time when I hear one, my gut response is always she's lying. And the reason why my gut response is always she's lying is because I've heard more women lie about it than I've heard actual victims. I have met more women who have falsified these things, typically for revenge, than I have actual victims. As an actual victim who has been in victim circles and whatnot. And I can tell you the people that hate the false allegations more than anyone else is the real victims who have had our credibility questioned by the people that freaking lie.
And that's the tragedy of it all right there. I mean, how many, and I know you've talked to many, I have also, how many women who were actually victims get lumped in with the other ones? Because, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Police officers might get 10, 12, 15 reports in a week, depending on the jurisdiction. And if, let's just pick the number 70, right? Let's say there's 10 reports and 7 of them are fake. They have to put the same amount of time, resources, energy, money into investigating those 7. And then the other 3 get less attention, right? Inherently. Whereas if they only had those 3 to deal with, they could put far more resources, effort, time into that. And that's the true tragedy of it all. The people that get hurt as much, if not more, are the actual victims because they get doubted. The police only have so many resources. They can't dedicate it to them. Again, the men who have to suffer from a false allegation, it's horrific what they go through. I'm not trying to minimize that in any way. But I truly feel for the women that deal with that too.
So interestingly enough, I want to talk about something that always comes up in like this when police officers are asking questions. Women inevitably always bring up that police officers will ask, "What were you wearing?" I actually sat down and talked to someone, a police officer, and they explained why they ask people this. Because it's evidentiary, yes, but most arists are serial. It's not one-off. It's a pattern of behavior. Mm-hmm. And they look for certain things. They have a type. They have a victimology if you watch Criminal Minds. So them asking you what you were wearing is not saying you deserved it. They are literally asking, what were you wearing, so that they can narrow the suspect pool, because maybe this guy only takes women that wears wearing blue shirts, or this one looks for a woman who's wearing a certain, hairstyle, or maybe someone is preying on women who go to a certain gym and you were wearing a shirt from whatever gym you belong to. Like, there are legitimate reasons for why you get asked all these questions. And I think a lot of women fundamentally misunderstand that when you're gathering information, yes, it's an arduous process and it sucks. You've just been through a horrible thing and you don't really want to answer all these questions, and you just want them to believe you. Well, they do believe you, but they have to ask you all these questions because they have to figure out who did it.
They also have to document it, so when they get asked in court later by the defense attorney certain things, if they don't have that information, it can blow up the whole case.
Yes, exactly. And
so it's not judgmental. That's the problem. Women view it as judgmental when the police ask that question. It's evidentiary. They need to document everything they can. Where you were, what you were wearing, what were you doing? That's why it's who, what, when, where, why, right? It's the same thing a reporter asks when they're trying to run a story. But women get offended by it because they've been told they should be offended by it. Whereas police officers are trying to help them.
Well, not only that, but in not just this situation, but just women in general, something about the way our brains work, we assume that questions or clarifying questions mean doubt.
Yes, you're right, 100%. And it's not doubt.
It's not. It's clarifying questions.
I mean, I should say sometimes it is, but because these police officers, they know sometimes. But in general, you got to look at it as it's evidentiary. And it would be the same thing, by the way, if it's a robbery, right? They're going to ask certain questions, and you might not like them, but they're going to ask them. It's like, you see it on TV all the time. They play up, where were you when so-and-so was murdered? Your wife was murdered, because it's always the husband that did it, of course. Never the wife, even though women commit the same amount, relatively speaking. Well, statistically speaking, it's the same. But they have to ask that question. They have to, because they're trying to gather information so they can then prosecute. And that's really what it comes down to. Daryl asked the question, how much is time in jail as a penalty for filing a false police report? In virtually every jurisdiction I know of, it is a misdemeanor. It is not a felony. There are some exceptions. And that's what they're going to be charged. They cannot be charged for anything more in most jurisdictions. So if they make a false allegation, the guy Art or S8 or the most the DA can hit her with, and they won't even do that, is a misdemeanor for filing a false police report, and it's a slap on the wrist, if that. More often than not, the judges just give them either community service or suspended sentence. Don't do it again.
And those women that get off, those aren't factored into the false.
None of that is factored in.
Accusations, because the false allegations number only comes from those that are proven false in a court of law.
Convicted in a court of law, which you got to remember, that means the DA had to prosecute. Well, the police had to charge, first of all. The DA had to prosecute. The jury, and juries do not like finding women guilty for anything, has to find her guilty. And then the judge has to actually give her a serious sentence. Those four things have to happen before it gets counted in the stat. And, that's why we need to have the laws changed. It should, I long advocated, and I know many others have as well. The penalty should fit the crime. If he was going to go away for 15 years, she should go away for 15 years. Because a true victim isn't going to lie.
No.
So it's not going to hurt them. It's going to help them, if anything, because it'll give them more credibility.
And that's the argument they always use, is if we punish women for false allegations, the women who have actually been victimized won't come forward. And I argue it would be the opposite. If we punish the women that lie, the women who come forward will be more believed. Because no good person wants to believe that someone would make up such a horrible thing.
And, years ago, it was the reverse. There were false allegations, to be sure, but it was nothing like it is now. And those women, you know, they got paid attention to more. And to be fair, some of them did get ignored. I'm not going to say that didn't happen. The skies are opening up above me.
I can hear it.
Yeah, let me put my headphones on you. Because I won't be able to hear you guys. But yeah, so that's that. All right, we are an hour in. Give us thumbs up, the likes, the hearts. Mika sent a few more things.
Questions, guys. We need questions. We're responding to y'all.
Y'all. Technical. Ooh, this is warm. Ooh. I had my headphones sitting on my computer, and they're toasty warm.
Roasty, toasty, roasty, toasty, roasty, toasty.
But yeah. Go ahead.
Someone on YouTube said, I find it funny how a bunch of accusations can creep out of the woodwork when the man is rich. Who knows what motive there could be? Yeah. That's whenever I see a wealthy man or a man in power who has been accused of something, my automatic assumption is that she's lying, because my automatic assumption is if she really wanted justice, she would have wanted justice 10 years ago when he was nothing, because justice doesn't care. So
I actually had a woman tell me one time, and I'd love to get your concurrence on this, or say no. She said, and she was a true victim. She said, I could never have not reported it and, you know, sat on it for 20 years and then suddenly come out with it. It would have eaten me alive. Right. I would have either reported it or I never would have said anything.
That's typically how it goes. I was talked out of reporting it by my mother.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of peer pressure too, right? From mostly family members. You're right. But they either tell it right away.
They either tell it right away or they don't say it at all.
Right.
The only reason I say it at all is because it's kind of my origin story of how I got started with all of this. If I were not doing this, if I were not talking to people about, you know, false allegations and what men's face and whatnot, I would probably have never mentioned it ever. But I regret not reporting it. I regret listening to the women around me tell me, if you report it, you won't be believed. What does that tell you? That other women know that false allegations are so rampant that they're telling an actual victim not to report it because you won't be believed. I've never had a man tell me that. I have had lots of women tell me that. I've also had women tell me that mine wasn't really that because it wasn't violent enough. There's apparently tiers of victimhood. I wanted to slap her.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on. What?
He didn't hurt me. He didn't hurt me. Therefore, it doesn't
count.
What?
Oh my God. See, now the dad me's coming out right now. Like, I'm going to find that mofo. You tell me who he is. I only got about 10, 15 years left, and I can use that as a retirement plan. Okay. You know, if anybody ever did
all he needs is 3 hots and a cot.
Exactly. Right. So, yeah. If anybody ever hurt my daughters, I would tell my son-in-law, step aside. I got this. You got another 40, 50 years to live. I got 10, 15. I'm good. And trust me, I would bring justice. Anyway.
You know, Dan, you sound like our the 3 of us mutual friend that lives in Arizona.
Oh, do I?
The big 6'5" guy.
I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, there we go, Steve. We'll go get him. Yeah, we will. I'm looking for more questions.
Houston Duck says, sounds like these women like to cover for bad boys. It's a combination strip. There are women that cover for bad men, like the mothers who will absolutely believe the boyfriends or protect the boyfriends over their children, which that confuses the absolute crap out of me. But it's actually, from my point of view and from the women that I've talked to, a lot of women have been talked out of reporting it by other women. And the reason why the women tell other women not to report it is because women know women lie. And that's the thing that is... So behind closed doors, women will tell other women, oh yeah, women lie. We all do this. Women do this. But if you confront them and say, so women lie, they all go, no, we don't. Yeah. And I'm like, the door was closed and you said women lie and you were giving us all sorts of advice about how women lie. You open the door and a man says, so women lie. And you suddenly say, no, we don't. Who are you really protecting? By not admitting that women lie, you are protecting women who lie, and you are making it harder for women who have actually been hurt to come forward.
Yeah.
And the irony is, and this bothers me, because women always say, well, good men need to hold the bad men accountable. They do. They do hold the bad men accountable. Good men do not keep bad men in their inner circle. They either exercise them or they put them in the ground. Women protect bad women. And this is where I see women doing a lot of projection. They assume that because we insulate bad women and we don't call them out, that men must do the same thing. And they don't. They don't.
They do not. And even bad men hold bad men accountable.
Exactly. What happens to people who mess with women or children in the general population of a prison?
And the sad part is, like, tying that in with false allegations, right? So, having talked with guys that have been prisoners, one of the first things that happens when somebody new goes into a prison is they want to see your paperwork, right? What are you here for? Well, I've been charged with burglary, or I've been charged with, felony hit and run. They'll probably get a pass on that. If they've been charged, notice I didn't say convicted. I said charged or accused of RSA, God forbid, harming a child. Doesn't matter whether they're guilty or innocent yet. They're going to get got. And they're going to get got bad. Right? Because they won't necessarily unalive them. Like I was talking with this a couple of years back, probably about 5 years now. I was talking with a guy who was in prison. He'd gone to prison for 20 years for murder. And he goes, yeah, I did it. I did my time. And he wasn't even like a top dog in the prison. There's a term for it. I don't know what it is. But they used to keep them alive just so they can make their lives a living hell. So they would stab them, but make sure they stabbed them in a way it wasn't going to kill them. Just so they could do it again.
Because they want them to suffer for the harm that they did to women and children, because men are biologically wired to protect women and children, even bad men. And so, like, one of the things I always hear is, well, every man knows a man that's done this. No, they don't. No, they don't. Men don't, like I said, good men do not keep bad men around them. And if they find out that they have a friend who's done bad things, guess what? They're not their friend anymore.
Nope.
They remove themselves. Do you know who does do that? Women.
All right, Curtis, you want to chime in?
Funny comparison. So I had a platoon sergeant when I was in Iraq when I was a young 20-year-old soldier. This man is still alive, living in Clarksville, Tennessee, right outside Fort Campbell. The guy is one of the most soft-spoken men I've ever met. He had this phrase for me when I was, blooming as a young man into a leader and a soldier and all of those things. And he said to me, men need to spend more time on the front porches talking to each other, sharpening each other, just like steel sharpens steel. And that resonated with me. And it's still with me today. And that was 22 years ago. So, food for thought there.
Well, you're talking about that's where fatherlessness comes in, right?
Yes.
Because those opportunities are taken away. And
absolutely,
there is no way a mother can teach a son what a father can. And vice versa, by the way, right? Because mothers teach sons things also that fathers can't. That's the reality. That doesn't mean either one is lesser or not a great parent or any of that crap. But we do different things. We have different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would tell you, mothers are more geared for nurturing. Mothers are more geared to get their kids to look at those moments in time that show more empathy than men do, because men hit their kids a lot with that tough love. Mm-hmm. They're not incapable of empathy, but we're more geared towards getting our children to adulthood to be successful adults. And that means that they have to be able to endure quite a bit of like tough
Discomfort.
times, discomfort, inconvenience. You know what? And the reason is delayed gratification is the benefit of everyone because all the work up front. I mean, you and I talked about this yesterday. Putting in the work up front has a huge payoff on the back end. Whereas if you do instant gratification, it's like paying the minimum balance on your credit card. You're never going to get the son of a gun paid off.
Well, that's why, and I blame my generation for it, but we didn't want our kids to want for anything, right? That whole thing.
I want my children to suffer safely. I want them to fail safely.
That, now I never bought into that, which is why my kids are so successful, right? They can handle life's up and downs because if you make everything perfect and they never suffer any pain or whatever, inevitably you're not going to be around one day and they're going to get hit with something. It might be in college, it might be in the workplace, might be something in life, whatever. And if they can't handle it, all they do is have a meltdown. How you failed as a parent, as far as I'm concerned. Failed.
My 20-year-old, since he was 18, has never asked me for anything that he ever needed or anything like that. I always had to go to him and ask him, do you need anything? And he goes, no. Do you want anything? And he goes, well, I want this. It would be nice to have this.
Mm-hmm.
I had to pull it out of him. And now this kid has more money in his bank account than I do in all of mine combined. So I must have done something right.
And that, you're making them self-sufficient. And that's, I'm not saying there's not mothers that can't do that. Of course there's. This is not, that's the other thing. They always argue it in terms of black and white. It's not. It's a spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, fathers teach things like discipline, honor, respect,
integrity.
Mothers do not. Mothers teach feelings,
self-preservation.
Yeah, that's another one. I mean, and it's
biological. Sometimes to the negative degree, right?
Mm-hmm. Steve, are you aware Jedediah made this list of most dangerous influencers on Scary Mommy? I have not seen that. I actually want to reach out to her and get her on my podcast. But I'm not aware of that one, Steve. But it's, oh no, what do you do now?
I can't tell you.
Hubby's home. Oh boy.
Does it involve a pickle?
Not this time.
The sad part is we know there's been other times.
He said something in the background. He had to have.
He's standing over there being all creepy, touching something I'm not allowed to say.
Thank God my wife works until we're off air. Otherwise, she would pull the same stunts. No, I totally lost train of thought. It's gone.
The train has left the station and we're not there. We missed our train. We dropped our nuts.
The squirrel dropped his nuts. Yes. All right. We got about 15 minutes. Curtis, stay on with us. So, guys, any other questions, comments, topics? You guys are bringing up.
Houston. Oh my God.
We can't say that, but
we can't say that.
Golf clap. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. I got
that is good.
Wait a minute. Let me pull the sound effects up. There we go. Move that around. We got to keep that open.
Really?
Houston also mentioned in a previous comment she tore up Megyn Kelly and Tomi Lahren. I got a video coming out on Sunday on Rumble and YouTube. It will not be on TikTok because one, it would get banned, and two, it's too long. Where I am shredding Tomi Lahren, among other things, and talking about how the Democrats spent $20 million and the Republicans are doing what they've always done. So go check that video out. Shameless plug. I freely admit it.
Mohammed on TikTok says, why are there not enough people watching this live? Because they don't like us. Because we hold women accountable. And accountability is kryptonite.
Also, the fact that TikTok throttles the crap out of us. So back in the day, I have to throw that phrase in every show. See there, I do, right? I deliberately do that. A year and a half ago, a year ago, we were pulling 5,000 to 10,000 views every show on TikTok. Now we're lucky if we get 500. We've changed nothing. It's TikTok is throttling us. YouTube's growing, other places are growing. TikTok deliberately throttles us. We've been good the last couple of weeks. We haven't gotten taken down, but normally by now we've been reported and mass reported. We've had instances. The best one ever. Lindsay's going to laugh. Remember that time? 4 minutes in, all we had said is, "Hey, everybody, how you doing?" Basically, and talked about the weather, and then they tried to shut us down.
Oh, don't forget the time you discussed prostate cancer.
Oh yeah. Uh-oh. Stargate is up. You haven't seen the
Angel
Stargate.
was asking, where's the Stargate background? Here it is.
Oh yeah, they were asking about that last week. Actually, I think.
You remember how earlier in the summer, at the beginning of the summer, we were talking about things to do with your kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am thoroughly enjoying this summer because the link I sent you to was incredible. I took my 2 younger sons storm chasing up in around Clear Lake in Gary, South Dakota.
That was cool.
They met Reed Timmer.
Oh, really? I follow him on Facebook.
Yeah, and they got to see the Dominator 3.
Really?
Yep. And guess what?
Wow.
You know that tornado that I'd filmed?
Yep.
That was the one, if you go on Reed's Facebook, that's the one he puts the drone up around. That is the one.
Wow.
So he was gracious enough to like get selfies with my 8-year-old, my 10-year-old. And those kids had a lot of fun. Oh man, it was a lot of fun. Yes, Steve, they got to see the Dominator 3. They got to see it right up close and personal. It was impressive. It was a lot of fun. And guess where we're going? Where we're going to tonight? We're going up north to Minnesota. We're gonna stay overnight in Camp Ripley, and then we're gonna head out west to Dickinson, North Dakota, to storm chase tomorrow.
Wow, you're all over the place. Nice.
But you can't come see me.
Well,
I'm kidding, Curtis. I'm kidding. One day.
Soon.
One day I will.
Oh, by the way, my AC's done.
AC
is
definitely
remember,
necessary.
Curtis, you ready for this? Remember how we were talking last week about, if I wanted a Jeep and all that? Remember we had that whole financial conversation? Guess who bought a Jeep Saturday?
You?
Yes. So I've had things set up. So if one came available that I had very specifics, one popped up. So I walked in, got my number, handed him my Amex to pay for it. Right? He's like, I can't take it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't take it? He's like, do you know the fees we got to pay on that? I'm like, oh, all right. So we had to do a loan because it was Saturday, and then I turned around and paid it off Monday. But yeah, I ended up so I'm a complete hypocrite. I went and bought a Jeep. And I've already started tricking it out.
Yeah, but you don't have a payment with it.
No, I do not. Pay cash.
Yeah.
Now I need to send you ducks.
Yes, you do. And it's, by the way, it's a 2013, so it's in immaculate condition. But I bought a 12-year-old Jeep.
Yeah.
With 80,000 miles on it. And instead of spending $80,000 on a Wrangler, which is what I looked at one on the lot, 80 grand for an effing Jeep. Are you kidding me? No wonder they can't sell them. But yeah, so I wasn't going to share that, but yeah, I figured I better once we started talking about it.
So I got a 2023 Chevy Trailblazer. It's got 61,000 miles that I put on it. Oh, wait.
Country.
Oh, Lord.
What the duck? Yeah, we got taken down for talking about ducks one time. So
Let's
those-
talk about
yeah,
ducks.
for those that don't know why we're cracking up about a comment about duck, we literally got taken down by TikTok for talking about ducks, and not in a bad way.
So I took my vehicle to our local mechanic, had the transmission fluid changed, I had the oil changed, and the guys, I've known the guy for a while. He's a great guy. And he said, so when are you going to replace that hood in that windshield? I said, I'll never replace the hood. But the windshield, I'm waiting until the tornado season's over with because I am not replacing it more than once.
Well, your insurance should cover that anyway. So
No.
Although on my mom-mobile, which is sitting in the driveway still, I've had a ding since about 2020 on my windshield. I have insurance that could cover it. It's not in the way. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Like the deductible versus replacement of that windshield. The replacement of the windshield is literally $300. I'm just not. I'm not going to take the hit on my insurance for it.
There you go. Yeah, I was. So Dudism just said I thought it was going to be much more too. He said I just replaced mine $800. I've heard over $1,000 now if they have the ones that have the
sensors of the
like
HUDs.
my wife's car's got all that crap in it. I'm like, it's like replacing headlights now. So I was talking with a buddy of mine. He had to replace his headlight. This is a few months back. It was like $1,200 to replace the headlight, and I'm like. I replaced one of my minivan. It cost me $15 for the bulb and about 3 minutes of work.
Well, they have to get the computer to talk to it so that it recognizes the tail light and it moves.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was they can't replace a bulb anymore. The way they're built, they're all in one units. So whatever his car, I don't remember his car. They had to literally take the whole unit out, throw it in the trash, and put a new one in. I mean, that's crazy. $1,200 for a freaking headlight. I remember back in the day. There you go, Kurtz. I mean, it was like $3 to do a headlight, right? And I'm talking back. They used to have the sealed beam headlights. You didn't replace a bulb even back in the 70s and 80s. You replaced the whole headlight, but it was like $3. Now I know inflation's part of it, but inflation didn't go from $3 to $1,200.
Yeah, that's insane.
So
I remember replacing light bulbs. And you'd have to use the foam to touch the actual bulb. Otherwise, your finger oils would magnify and kill the bulb faster.
Yeah. I used to wear rubber gloves to do them just in case. So, all right. We got about 5 more minutes. Any last questions? Run them at me. Angel wants to know, at what point did you realize your mother was toxic and an alienator? I've talked about this many times before. The real tell-all was when my sister's father, who was my former stepfather, was sitting in the driveway waiting to pick her up. And I sat and watched my mother tell my sister that her father hadn't shown up and didn't want to see her. And it all started registering because I had heard the same things before. And I knew he was literally sitting in the driveway.
You know, I went through that when I was going through my own divorce. And my mom was sitting there at the table and made this offhanded comment about, "Nah, I feel really bad for what I did to your dad." And I go, and then all of a sudden, all the lights went on, and everything registered, and I was like, "Oh, yeah." To this day, our relationship's very superficial. I don't let her in.
Yeah, and that's what almost inevitably happens when it's found out. You know, that's not something you can ever recover from. All right, go on. What is it?
He says, "But women don't lie, I thought."
Yeah. Keep it clean, people. Keep it clean.
I'm not saying anything.
He didn't say anything bad. It was
I just said
sarcasm.
Stop reacting like a woman.
I'm sorry.
Control your emotions, woman.
I'm sorry, but my ovaries hurt. And
Oh, no. Crying is blackmail. Stop it.
Hey, I said that earlier this year.
Yeah,
Using
but
my own words against me. That's like a woman. Don't do that.
I'm in touch with my feminine side. So, all right, we only got a couple more minutes. Great show. Love the questions, guys. So just real quick, happy July 4th to everyone. I was supposed to go visit Lindsay. I'm sorry it didn't work out.
You were supposed to, I invited both of you.
I know. Well, I had every intention of it, but someone's got to work. And I don't want to come without her because I'm going to make her look at the Alamo.
One day you both
Remember the Alamo.
Remember the 5th of November. Y'all should come down here when it's like winter and not so, Satan's asshole hot.
My winter or your winter?
My winter.
Okay.
Not
Just
your
clarifying.
winter.
Yeah, I am not.
Nobody likes my winter.
Your winter,
No.
you can put the KitchenAid mixer out on the porch and make ice cream.
Yes.
Yeah, I escaped those
Well,
kind of winters. No,
ice.
no more.
Just ice.
Remember the alimony. Good one, Houston. Hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute. I got to find it again. Hold on. Oh, I got approved for one I put in. You ready? Remember Shaggy Zoinks? I'm surprised they Zoinks. All right. We can go ahead and wrap things up. Curtis, how can they follow you?
KBauer82 on YouTube, which my 10-year-old, 8-year-old, and I are streaming Storms tomorrow evening.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to stream them live. We're actually going to do it. We're going to use that streaming platform.
Okay.
We're going to try it. We're going to test bed. Here it goes.
Test it out. Yeah. So
Yep.
we may be moving to a different platform in the near future because the one we're using is not working out as well as we need it to, just so y'all know. Lindsay.
I am Squirrel Girl 1988 on everything except Facebook, where I'm just Squirrel Girl. I've started doing TikTok videos again.
Oh, you have? I haven't seen them.
They haven't gone up yet. They're in my drafts folder because they won't post.
Uh-oh. Bad girl.
I've been naughty.
They hate you. It's okay. They'd probably hate me too if I dared downloaded it.
But I have gotten a lot of traction lately on some of my older vids.
Really?
Yes.
Really? That's
Yeah,
strange.
well, I got demonetized on TOO. And, 3 is probably on its last legs. It's not if, it's when, guys. So if you're following this show on TikTok, you've got to move to one of the other platforms if you want to keep watching it. Because when that account goes, I'm probably going to be done with TikTok. I really, Trump extended it. And in fact, I will not be surprised if it gets taken down tomorrow, because I have a video going up talking about the cap cut. And
Good Lord, country. Good Lord.
If you haven't heard, if you're using CapCut and have used it since June 12th, it is not good. And I did a whole video on it, and it is posting on YouTube, it's posting on YouTube, yes, but it's going up on TikTok just because I don't give a crap. So they'll probably get pissed at me for doing that and take me down. And I don't care. So, all right, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Everybody have a great July 4th, and don't drink too much. I don't drink at all, so it's not a problem for me.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.